Hello again. So today's video is going to be related to uh, my accident or the loss of my son, but I'm going to talk about something that's affected me for a very, very long time, which is OCD, which then turned into pure OCD. If you want to support me or the channel, there's information in the description for Cashapp, PayPal, and Venmo, but do not feel obligated. So I first started having challenges with OCD when I was 7. I started counting and checking, and I wasn't sure exactly why I started doing this, but I looked up OCD a while back, and the two risk factors are child abuse and stress. Now, I wasn't abused as a child, but I did have some stress. I came from a blended family, and my half brothers, who are my brothers, they're my real brothers to me. They were constantly going back to live with their dad, and then coming back to live with us, and I never, they left a lot, which really broke my heart. And then my mom got pregnant with my sister, and she always wanted a girl, so you know, um, I kind of felt abandoned. So what I started doing was, I don't even know why I started doing it, but I started doing the light switches. I remember turning it on, and then I would turn it off, but it didn't seem like I did it right, even though the light would turn on and turn off. So the numbers started, going higher, 1, 2, until I got to 5, until I got to 10, until I got to 20, and you can figure out the issue. Or closing doors, same thing. 7 years old, and I would do it when nobody was around. Or if I started struggling with it, let's say like my bedroom door, I'd wait for a family member to leave the hallway so they couldn't see what I was doing. And I would do this other thing where if I didn't say something the way I wanted to say it, it was like I got like an eraser. I pretend like a mental eraser, and I'd go shh, and then start over, and then start the sentence. But this is only when I was talking by myself, thinking out loud. I wouldn't do it around people. I hid it very much around my family. To this day, my family doesn't even know that I had it, have it, or struggle with it. I told my brother, but I didn't. It's kind of hard to really explain to somebody. And I told my mom, but I don't think my mom really knows what it is. I think she just thinks that it's, you know, taking a lot of showers and washing your hands. So I would say around 10 or 11, and I was in therapy at around 7, but I never told her about that I was struggling with OCD. I didn't know what it was. We just talked about family stuff. My parents were divorced twice and married 3 times. So it's cool knowing that at the end they were together, and that kind of really helped me out, you know, in the last 10 years, knowing that in the end my parents were together. So it doesn't feel so broken homish, if you know what I mean. So eventually it kind of just faded away. Um, but I remember crying a lot and being very stressed out. There's different types of OCD, um, which I'll get to, but I remember an incident where I was at the mall and we went in an elevator. I think I was like 7 or 8, and I pressed the buttons really fast. And then once we got to the car, when we left, I started crying because I was sure that I broke the elevator and that the mall was going to come after my parents for millions of dollars, and they didn't have it, and something bad would happen. I was always scared of something bad happening. So I'll cut ahead a bit. So the counting and checking kind of disappeared, but what didn't disappear was me washing my hands. I'd wash my hands often till they bled. I still wash my hands a lot, not as much as I did back then, but I try not to touch anything dirty. Um, I don't like holding a donut either. I have to have a napkin wrapped around it. I don't. If I'm eating a hamburger, I use the wrapper. I don't like touching any kind of food. I eat pizza or even a hamburger sometimes with a fork and knife. I just don't like touching food. It just feels weird to me. Um, so yeah, it freaked out. A girlfriend I had when I was 17, she thought I was crazy, and she told me that it wasn't right to be washing my hands all the time. And even now, I take a minimum of 2 showers a day. It doesn't even matter if I leave the house. I have to take a shower in the morning and I have to take a shower at night. And I mean like a full shower. I'm not just rinsing myself off. I have to completely get myself drenched and then, wash my hair, wash my face, wash everything. And often my skin is dry. And I don't like lotion because I don't mind having lotion on me, but I don't like the feeling of lotion on my hands, on my palms. It just feels kind of weird. So I might skip ahead and skip back. So what I explained is basically just OCD in general. But in 2010, I was going through my second divorce and I was wrecked. And I remember, I moved in with my mom and I parked. And I remember walking to the door late at night and this thought came in my head, just randomly: kill your mom. And I remember thinking, like, where the hell did that come from? I love my mom. My mom's never done anything to me. We have a great relationship. Why did that thought pop in my head? And I remember being freaked out and really like, what the hell was that? But I let it go. And then other thoughts start popping in my head, and then they got worse and worse and worse. And I didn't know that it was OCD. I had no idea what it was. I convinced myself that we all have this filter in our brain, and my filter must be stressed out, not working, or it's damaged, or it's broken, or whatever. But like, let's say I'd see I'd see a young mom like walking by a park, okay, with a newborn baby. Randomly, I'd get an image of a baby's head on a sidewalk, and then somebody's smashing its head. Who wants to think of things like that? But these things would pop up in my head all the time. Or if I'd be at church, and these are going to get very, very graphic, so bear with me, and I'm sorry if it bothers you. Trigger warning. Let's say I'd be at church, and I'd be listening to the sermon, and everything's great, and then I just get a random thought of like rubbing my testicles on the cross, or the pastor's face, or something like that. And you jump back like, where is this coming from? And if you have a spiritual background, especially in Christianity or Catholicism, you think, well, that a lot of, or Pentecostalism will think that there's a demon attached to you, or you're being oppressed, or something like that. So you can imagine I was pretty freaked out. I didn't know what the hell was going on. And I prayed all the time that it would go away. For quite a few years, I struggled with it, and some days were really, really bad, and it was very stressful, and I didn't talk about it to anybody, which most people with Puro don't, because we don't know what the hell is going on, and how do you explain something like that to somebody? You're so scared of being judged. So with that's pure OCD. With pure OCD, there's certain kind of themes or common intrusive thoughts, let's call it that, okay? One is responsibility. Like that I could create an issue or a problem, or whether I'm doing it on purpose or by accident, kind of like the elevator thing. There's responsibility, OCD, sexuality, OCD, which often there's also fear of being a homosexual. When you're not homosexual, you'll get a homosexual thought. So some people think that they're homosexual, but it's not coming out, or they don't realize it's just a thought. It's just OCD, and it has nothing with you being a homosexual, being in a closet, or anything like that. They're just thoughts. That's all they are. Pedo stuff. I'm going to say it like that because I know YouTube will, take off videos probably. Violence. Kind of like that thought I had about the newborn baby. Religiosity, which are a lot that I had, like that thought about the pastor. I'd get a lot of them that were religious based, and you're so paranoid that they're sacrilegious, so you start praying, God, please forgive me, I don't know why I got this thought, that kind of thing. And health. The health one, I really struggled with when I was about 23. It just kind of came, and I was so afraid that food was undercooked, or I was constantly checking the dates on everything, and if somebody left the milk out just a little bit too long, I'd want to throw it away. I was so scared that I was going to get sick or die, or that one of my loved ones would be. My wife at the time, we'd eat at her parents' house all the time, and they always cooked their steak medium rare, so there'd be blood coming out of it. And I grew up eating it well done because my family's crazy. So to see all that blood, I was sure that I was going to get sick or get some kind of illness or die. even though that the steak was like the best steak I ever had in my life. But I was still paranoid that I shouldn't be eating that. Which now that's the only way I eat it. It's the greatest way to eat steak, and I'm not afraid of dying from bad food anymore. A little bit, like if milk is old, I'm gonna throw it away, but I mean not irrationally. The pedo stuff. See, how can I put this? Well, I'll just explain the themes and then I'll get to it later. So one time, and this is right after my wife left, a friend asked me if I could pick up his daughter and take her to school because I can't remember, he had to be somewhere. She was like 10 or 11, so I did that. And as we're driving, hey, how are you, sweetie? And I'm taking her to school. And these overwhelming thoughts get in my head, like, don't look at her too much. She might think you're weird. Um, don't talk too much. Like, I was so afraid that she would think that I liked kids or something like that. And it was so irrational. I'm friends with her dad. She knows me. We talk. And I was so paranoid that she would think that I'm some kind of pervert or something. It was overwhelming, and I don't know why I got this feeling randomly and why it would not leave my brain. So that was an experience that I had with that one. The violence, I would just see thoughts. I would just get these thoughts all the time about, I'd be at a grocery store and I'd see somebody and I'd imagine them punching somebody else or somebody coming in and just shooting everybody. And they just would not go away. Like I couldn't just have my own normal thoughts, whether they're good thoughts or just thoughts that weren't like that. Um, I was always struggling with these kind of unwanted thoughts. I remember being working at a running an eBay department of this company, and I had to go to the warehouse. And this guy was explaining to me just something about the warehouse, and he kind of kept getting close to me. Not that he was doing, but he was just kind of so I could hear him and everything. And then like you just get a thought of like grabbing him and making out with him. Now I am not gay. I've never had a gay experience. I am the straightest man in the world, but this is something that kept popping up all the time, and I didn't know like what the hell is going on. So I would get all these intrusive thoughts all the time. They would not go away. Um, Another thing that I do, there's also a relationship type of OCD that's tied in with Puro. Um, by the way, Puro is primarily obsessional compulsive disorder, or they call it purely obsessional compulsive disorder. So anybody who's watched the Soft White Underbelly video knows that I have the greatest wife in the world. We're very close. We don't argue. We're just perfect together. But whenever she tells me she loves me, I always say the same thing, and that's, "Are you sure? I would completely understand if you didn't. If you if there's somebody better, I understand." I'll like say these things. The first two I say all the time. Sometimes I'll even elaborate more. And that's a part of relationship OCD. I need constant reassurance. And I need reassurance in other ways too, relationship wise. And it's very weird, and she handles it so well. And sometimes when I tell her I love her, she says exactly those things back to me, which is pretty funny. So let's see, where else do I? One second. Another type of OCD is existential OCD. Now, this one I still have all the time. And it's basically persistent obsessive thoughts about the universe, the world, why are we here, what's going on, philosophical type stuff. I could have these conversations all day long. And I'll bring up at least one or two every single day with my wife about experiences people have, near-death experiences, after-death communications. Why does this Christian guy have a near-death experience and he doesn't see Jesus? Why does an atheist have a near-death experience and he sees Jesus? Like, what is going on? Why is all this happening? Where are we going? Do these places exist? That kind of thing. So that is that. Washing my hands and showering constantly, especially if it's summer. If it's summer, I take like 3 showers a day. If I break out in any kind of sweat at any time, I feel the need to take a shower. I don't like getting sweaty, or even if somebody, like if I spill a little bit of water on my shirt and it goes through and I can feel like the wet cloth, like I have to take a shower or change my clothes. It's really weird. So I guess on another level of the existential part of OCD, another thing that I think of all the time, you guys know that I lost my son. So struggling with that and struggling with pain and having OCD makes everything just worse because you just cannot stop thinking about it. So one thing I think of all the time is why did my son, get taken away from me? I prayed so much for God to protect me and my family while we're at home, while we're out and about, while we're driving. Send your angels to surround us, all my loved ones, all my friends, that sort of thing. So if I did all that and I was basically a good guy, why did you take my son away? So that's something I think about all the time. And it sucks because you're never really going to get an answer, you know what I mean? So going through all the OCD stuff before my accident, one day I was packaging an eBay item that I sold or something, and I was just getting these random thoughts, whether it was responsibility, OCD, sexual OCD, pedo OCD, violence OCD, religiosity, whatever. And I got to a point where, I've been praying for years for this to go away. So I went to a search engine, I just typed in intrusive thoughts, and bam, it popped up. Pure OCD. I click on it, and it was me to a T. All the different types of OCD I had experienced. So then I went on YouTube, and there was a few like psychologists that were talking about it. It's not very well known. There's still not a whole lot known about it. And there's a couple videos of people like me just putting up a video because nobody wants to talk about it. It's very embarrassing. The thoughts that we get are horrible. Who wants to share that with the world? Who wants to be thought that we're crazy? That kind of thing. Watching The Aviator, the movie about Howard Hughes, where he's played by Leonardo DiCaprio, that's me. I mean, it was kind of a bit triggering to watch that. But at the same time, my OCD has done a lot of good for me in the sense of the regular OCD, in the sense of like working and reading and having a photographic memory. I would just keep pushing myself and not let go. And I would get, moved up quickly at work where I'd figure things out super fast. I would learn something super quickly. I could figure out people very fast. So OCD can help you in a way. It helped Howard Hughes too. I mean, he wouldn't let things go. He kept pushing and pushing, and he did very well for himself. Now, my accident really slowed me down from getting the benefits of OCD and the businesses I have, that sort of thing. By the way, when I went to the search engine and typed in intrusive thoughts, and I found out about it, what it was called, that other people had it. It was weird because it almost felt like only I'm going through this because it was so like personal and with these few things, these few main kind of topics that get played in your head. It felt good to know that I wasn't the only one that had it. And you know what? Almost immediately after finding out what it was called, it disappeared by like 70%. Now, is that the prayers working years later? Or is that me just finding out what it is and my brain did something? I have no idea. But it's nice to have it. I would say by now it's 80% gone. The pure OCD is. But I still have issues like, with the other stuff like washing my hands and showering, which I think are kind of good things because I really don't get sick. And, all of my loved ones and girlfriends always talked about how clean I am, so I guess that's a good thing. So I've only talked in depth with this thing that I struggle with about 4 people. So now you all know it. Um, I guess I put myself in a very vulnerable situation with the soft white underbelly video, but I just wanted to save a life or save lives or get people to really understand what it's like to lose a child and how people make mistakes that can affect us. And a lot of people said that I was very articulate and could explain things well, so I'm trying to do that in this case and with my other videos as well, which is weird because I never thought of myself as a very articulate person. Although when I speak, I always wanted people to understand exactly what I'm saying and exactly the way that how I feel it or understand it, which I know is impossible, but it's always been something that I wanted to do, is to get people to understand things the way that I understand them or the way that I see them. Obviously not with like politics or religion. I'm not trying to force anything, but I just want people to understand at least how I see it, and then we can have a conversation about it, that kind of thing. So that is my struggle with OCD and Puro. And I guess the thing that works best for what I heard at the moment is cognitive behavioral therapy, which I taught to myself during my second divorce, to help me feel better and to get over panic attacks, that kind of thing. There are some people that are on medication. Everybody's different. Those kind of struggles are kind of subjective. So I never had to take anything, thank God. I never talked to a therapist about it. It was just something that I worked out in my head. So, yeah, that's OCD and that's pure OCD. Thank you very much for watching, and have a good one.